Hi everyone. So this is going to be a quick rundown of the books I read recently. I was in a bit of a reading slump, but to get out of it, I caved in and I started with the book Intercepts by TJ Payne. Of course, people have been talking about it in TikToks, on Facebook. So I caved in. Now, the protagonist and other characters, I did find them lacking as far as their development as well as their vividness were concerned. However, using the senses, the human senses, as a source of horror, that was very original and effective. It was damn effective. So, yes, I do have some problems with the characters, with the plot even. But in a sense, it is subservient to this original vision of horror and where it comes from. Also, I feel like I need to say this now that I'm trying to finish my own first horror book. I realize that it's not going to be perfect. So this is not perfect, and that's totally fine. Okay, continuing. I also finally read this book called Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. Yes, she was on House MD, I believe, season 7. She wrote it. She also narrated some parts of the audiobook. Now, this focuses on 5 men who were brutally sexually assaulted. And as such, it's comprised of first person narratives that are very raw and haunting. And it's also interspersed with series of tweets, snippets of TV shows, radio shows, phone calls to those. And so it addresses rape culture and how media sensationalizes, sorry about that, um, some crimes. And I think at some point, it makes this claim that just because you wear a pin that indicates that you're an ally of LGBTQ, that doesn't mean that you did anything. Now, if anyone wants to talk about this book, please leave a comment. I can't get it out of my head. So that's going to be one of my favorite books of the year. Sorry, it's early for me. For me, it was a compulsive reading. I started it in the evening. I didn't sleep the night finishing it because I had to. And like it or not, there is a real pain in this book. It hurts. And, I couldn't put my finger on it right away. What was it that it was making me feel? I couldn't. And then I realized that the way certain paragraphs made me feel is dirty on the inside, ashamed. And that's the point. Now, the assailant, known as quote unquote Maud, yes, it's a she remains this empty cipher, a vessel for post-traumatic nightmares, for traumatized minds, essentially. So every one of those five men feels it, feels this emptiness, because no one, let's say no one, saw her face. So in a way, she is, like I said, she is a cipher. Now, the end of the book, that's what I really want to talk about. So again, if anyone read it, speak up. And then the last book I want to talk about, let me look at the full title. It's, okay, The Spider and the Fly, a reporter, a serial killer, and the meaning of murder by Claudia Rowe. So again, this is not your typical horror. It's a reporter interviewing a serial killer for a book. But it's more than that because she is guided by these questions. Was there some spark of humanity that could have been stoked and swayed this person from committing the acts that he did? Was there something in his trajectory that could have been different if people paid attention? And, you know, somewhere in the middle of the book, there is this interesting claim that just happens and there is no follow up. And that is, if the killer means nothing, that means his victims mean nothing. I disagree with that. I just disagree with that. I don't see it. And I wish it was more than a statement. I wish I could understand the logic there, but that's what we got. And then at the end, the reporter tells this killer that, yes, you're more than the sum of the acts you've committed. Um, Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think there are acts that render all of this meaningless. I don't care if there was some human spark that could have been salvaged in time. I think after this killer murdered 8 women, did very nasty things to their bodies, and raped countless more women, those questions become irrelevant. And it made me think of, I believe that's in Eichmann in Jerusalem, that Hannah Arendt says, when it comes to more mundane offenses, daily trespasses, yes, we have to forgive because no one deserves to be chained to their past. No one can change the past. It's that weight, the rock, as Nietzsche would say. But when it comes to actions like those of Eichmann, and I would argue those of this killer, those of other serial killers, they cannot be forgiven. They need to be gone from this earth. So I think it's a very astute distinction. We weren't talking about some daily trespasses here. But in a way, this book, it also made me ask difficult questions of myself because I do love sort of studying forensic psychology. I do deep dives into different cases, and I was tempted to write an inmate in prison one time. I thought better of it, mainly because I can't afford a separate like PO box. Um, but it made me wonder, could this have been me? Could I have become almost charmed by a serial killer? I sure as fuck hope not, but nevertheless, the questions lingered with me. Okay, and the last book I want to mention, actually, very quickly, it's called The Fifth Child by Doris Lessing, I believe. I'll only say that the idea of the book is interesting. The way it's executed, it's one missed opportunity after another. The characters are either just poorly executed or they're complete idiots. Just take your pick. So, for example, thinking of book like We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shrivel, where we get this unflinchingly brutal introspection, we got none of it here. None. So, good idea, terrible, terrible execution. Okay. On this note, I send my regards and see you later, people.